Namaskar. Hello everyone. I'm RVD and welcome to the next video of my playlist, a course on analysis of algorithms. In this video, we'll be looking at topic 2, time complexity. We've already seen that the complexity could be of two types, that is space and time, and our more focus would be on time complexity. So in this particular video, we'll be learning about how to find the time complexity. Okay. Towards the end of the video, we'll also try to see how can we define a complexity function and how the complexity function rather is related to the complexity or a growth of the algorithm. Okay, so do watch till the end of the video. So let us start with time complexity. See, when it comes to time complexity, it is of two different types. The first one we can call it as posteriori analysis, whereas the other one is called as priori analysis. Now they have a complete different point of view when it comes to complexity. The posterior analysis is quite relative one, whereas your priori is an absolute one. Posteriori deals with the actual time that is being spent for the execution of the algorithm. So it has got a limitation of dependency on the processor speed, on the type of instruction set used, whereas priori analysis, it deals with the asymptotic notations which we will be looking at, and that's the reason it might not give you the exact answer. Posteriori tries to give you the exact answer, whereas priori will give you the approximate answer, but it is independent of all these factors, as I said, about the processor speed and all these things. So generally you would find posteriori works with the time, whereas your priori works with the growth of the particular function. And that's the reason when it comes to analysis, we prefer more about priori analysis. So now here onwards, whenever we would be dealing with analysis, or whenever we even say analysis, what we mean by default is a priori analysis. And we will obviously engage ourselves in the concept of counting number of steps. Because priori analysis believes in counting number of steps and relating that number of steps with the growth of the function. So when it comes to time complexity, even though we say time complexity, you never will be getting the time complexity in the form of time. You always get the time complexity in the form of a growth, and that is related to the number of inputs. So let us move on to actually calculating the time complexity. We'll be taking a very simple example, that is for finding the maximum out of given n integers. So you can see the pseudo code in front of you, okay, where you can see a function find max is being written. Okay, we have a very typical logic, so we don't have to pay attention to the logic. You know, the first element is considered as max, and the rest of the elements are being compared with that or with the current max, and whenever we get anything greater than the current max, it is replaced. That's the simple logic. So let us try to understand how can we find the complexity function for this particular algorithm or a pseudocode which is in front of you. Now understand one thing, that here we will be looking at the number of steps, and every type of step we have assumed to have equal time requirement. So that's an assumption which we will see how exactly it takes a shape when we'll go for the complexity function. But currently every step will be counted as 1. Okay, so let's try to look at the individual steps. So start being the delimiter, we will leave it aside. Now this max equal to x of 1, you can see it gets executed only once. If at all this for loop I write in our own style, so I equals to I less than equals n, I plus plus. You know, this for loop is going from 2 to n. Okay, so it has to be n minus 1 times. So the for loop runs n minus 1 times. But this is a single statement of assignment, it runs only once. the increment obviously will run n minus 1 times equal to the number of iterations of the loop, but the condition is always checked one time extra, so it is obviously going to get executed n times. Okay, now we are within the loop, so this gets executed equal to the number of iterations of the loop, whereas this particular statement is dependent on if. So if the condition is true, this will be executed. If it is not, it will not be executed. In such scenarios, we generally have the options of taking the cases like best case and the worst case. And when it comes to estimate, we always believe in going on the worst side. And that's the reason the worst case will be when this will always be true and this also will be executed n minus 1 times. So we are out of the loop now, and this is a single step which again will be executed once. So likewise, you can take every step and you try to understand the number of times that particular step will be executed or a frequency of a step, and that will be helpful in finding the complexity function. So if at all I count the total, it's like I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 ones, and you can see I have 3 minus 1. So plus 3 minus 3 cancels. Then we have 1, 2, 3 and 4, 4n. So if you look at the complexity function, I can say this is f of n equal to 4n. Now what exactly it means? It means that the number of steps this algorithm will be taking equal to 4 times the number of input. Fine. So let's try to have a comparative analysis so that we'll be able to understand the concept of growth. So complexity function, we just now had seen that f of n is equal to 4n. Let us assume we have another algorithm, maybe doing a similar task but with a different approach, and it has got a complexity function g of n equal to 15n. Now let us try to compare. Okay, so just now I said that maybe we assume that all type of operations take equal time, but let us try to have a hypothetical situation where we have assignment operation and we have comparison operation. Okay, you know that assignment takes less time, so 2 unit or 2 clock cycles. Comparison takes more time, so 50 clock cycles. So assignment and comparison. When we say f of n is equal to 4n, it is going to be what? 4 operation or 4 into n operations. Let us assume n to be 1. So 4 operations. Let me have f of n 4 operations which are being distributed as let's say 1 assignment and 3 comparisons. It could be any combination, and we are taking a hypothetical situation. Whereas g of n could be 14 assignments and just 1 comparison. Possible. 14 plus 1 is 15. Now if you look at the actual time, this will be 1 into 2 plus 50 into 3, which is 152. Whereas this will be 14 into 2, 28 plus just 1 comparison 50, which is 78. So when we see 4n and 15n, we feel that 15n is going to take more time as compared to 4n, but actually we take more time for 4n because the type of operations there are not that good. Now obviously you will be wondering that I've purposely taken this value. Yes, I've done that to show you that these coefficients are really not worth relying upon. So suppose I take another small example. Let's say if I have h of n equal to n square. Yeah, so as far as when I say the coefficients could be discarded, you will see that both of them, f of n and g of n, have got an equal growth. But if you take h of n, n square, a very small function, but growth is tremendously high. You know, when the initial values of n, it will not be visible because it doesn't have a coefficient. But as n significantly increases, okay, you will be able to see. For example, let's say n is equal to 10. Say f of n will be 40, g of n will be 150, and h of n will be 100. Now when I double up my n, let's say n is 20, f of n will become 80, g of n will become 300. See, both of them are getting double up with increase in your input twice. Your time is also getting double up, which is obviously having a similar growth. Whereas for n is equal to 20, this becomes 400. It is growing 4 times. So that is where exactly the concept of growth comes, and it is independent of the coefficients. So obviously we can conclude that comparing with coefficients is of no use because coefficients are quite unreliable. as we've just now seen that every type of operation they assume one, which is actually not the case. So obviously we should try comparing without coefficients. And when that happens, it obviously happens when we'll try to increase the value of n. Okay, and that is exactly the concept of asymptotic analysis we will be looking at as we go ahead. So as far as the time complexity is concerned, we have seen how to take up the algorithm, how to do a post-mortem of every step, count the number of steps, take a complexity function and try to reach up to the complexity of the algorithm. We have not reached up to the complexity yet, but we have understood that it is really important to increase the value of input so that the coefficients can be neglected. So the conclusion is, we should do the analysis for the higher values of input so that the coefficient can be neglected and we can focus only on the growth of the function. Now, how can we neglect the coefficients? How do we do analysis for the larger values is going to come in the next video, where we'll talk about the concept of asymptotic analysis. Okay, but as far as the time complexity is concerned, that's it from my side. Thank you and a happy learning.